Sisters, come close. I want to tell you a story we don't often speak of without a hint of shame or sorrow. But we need to talk about her, not just because of what happened to her, but because of who she became. I want you to see her, not just as the woman on the rooftop, but as a woman with a soul, a story, and a strength that only God could build from brokenness.
I am Bathsheba, and this is my story.
Now let's set the scene. Bathsheba lived in a world very different from ours, a world ruled by men, where women had little power over their own lives. She lived under patriarchy, not just in her household, but in the law, the religion, and the culture. Women couldn't own land, couldn't refuse a king, couldn't speak back to power without risking their lives. She was likely young, newly married to Uriah the Hittite, a noble and honorable man who served in King David's army. And when the story opens, her husband is away at war. It was evening in Jerusalem, the city still, the palace towering above its rooftops. Bathsheba did something simple, something normal. She took a bath. Not to seduce, not to perform, but because cleansing was part of her monthly ritual, a spiritual practice of purification in the law. She didn't know that a man was watching, and not just any man, the king. David saw her, wanted her, and sent for her. Now pause right here, sister, because this is where the world often twists the story. Some say she tempted him. They say she was out in the open. But here's the truth. David wasn't where he was supposed to be. He should have been at war with his men. He certainly shouldn't have been coveting another man's wife. Bathsheba had no voice in this invitation. When a king summons you, you don't say no. You can't. Refusing could mean punishment, even death. So when we tell her story, let's make it clear. This was not her sin. This was his abuse of power. And so King David slept with her, and soon after, she sent him a message that would shake everything. I am with child. This child would expose the king's failure as a moral leader and reveal his sin. But instead of repenting, David plotted. He called Uriah home from the battlefield, hoping he would sleep with Bathsheba and cover up the truth. But Uriah was too loyal. He slept outside, refusing to enjoy the comfort of his wife's bed while his fellow soldiers suffered. David, desperate, took a darker turn. He sent Uriah back to battle with a message that sealed his fate. Put him on the front lines, then pull back the troops. Uriah charged into battle and was killed. A loyal soldier, a faithful husband, betrayed. And soon after, David took Bathsheba into his home, publicly now as his wife. David managed to hide his shame from everyone, but nothing is hidden from God. God sent the prophet Nathan to confront him, and Nathan told David a story. He spoke about a rich man who stole a poor man's only lamb. And when David grew angry at the injustice, Nathan said, "You are that man." David was crushed. He repented, God forgave him, but forgiveness didn't erase the consequences. Nathan said the child born out of his sin would not survive. And Bathsheba, oh sister, her grief must have been unspeakable. She had already lost her dignity, possibly her reputation, her first love, and her sense of safety. And now she lost her baby. But God wasn't done with Bathsheba, not even close. In time, she conceived again. And this time, she gave birth to Solomon. And the Bible says that God loved him. Think about that. From the ashes of pain, God brought forth a child of peace, Solomon, whose name comes from shalom, meaning peace. But Bathsheba didn't just fade into the background after that. She became a queen mother, wise and honored. In 1 Kings, we see Solomon bow before her and have a throne placed at his right hand for her, a place of high honor. She used her voice. She had influence in the kingdom. She raised the wisest king who ever lived. Bathsheba's story teaches us so much, not just about sin and grief, but about resilience, dignity, and redemption. Her pain wasn't her fault. Bathsheba was caught in the wake of someone else's sinful intentions. She didn't have the option of saying no. You may relate. You've been blamed for things that you weren't responsible for. You've suffered under someone else's power. God sees that, and He will fight on your behalf. Boundaries matter, even when others don't respect them. One of the great heartbreaks in Bathsheba's story is that no one protected her. That's why we must guard our spaces. Be wise with who you let in. Pay attention to subtle attempts at manipulation. And know this, your no matters, even if others don't honor it. God is the final arbiter. Sin has consequences. The loss of Bathsheba's child was not punishment for her, but a consequence of David's sin. That doesn't make it any less tragic, but it reminds us that sin always spills over. That's why we must walk carefully. The ripple effects are real. God can bring redemption out of ruins. This story could have ended in sorrow and reproach, but instead, God raised Bathsheba to a place of favor. Her son became king, and best of all, Bathsheba is listed in the genealogy of Jesus Christ. Her story, as messy as it was chosen to be part of the Messiah's story. That's the God we serve. There's something about us damaged girls that is precious in His sight, whether we've been rejected or abused or taken advantage of, as in the case of Bathsheba. God is always ready to restore us and place us in a seat of honor in His kingdom. So if you've ever felt powerless, if you've been blamed for what wasn't your fault, if you've carried shame or grief you didn't deserve to bear, sister, God sees you. He knows your name, and He's not finished writing your story. You are not what happened to you. You are not what they whispered behind your back. To God, you are never too stained, never too wounded, and never too far gone. Like Bathsheba, you are a woman fully known and fully loved by God. Someone He can use, right in the middle of your everyday life, because He's still in the business of creating beauty out of the ashes of our lives. So be brave, set healthy boundaries, trust His justice, and hold on to hope, because your everyday faith is the very tool God will use to complete His great work in your life. So until next time, stay strong, stay faithful, and stay ready.